But the Godflesh reunion thing was a nice... Once we actually agreed to do the Godflesh reunion thing, a lot of my time was spent going back to those songs, you know, and rehearsing again and rewriting drum rhythms, etc., etc. So it was good, really. It stopped me from consistently writing Jesu material. You know?
Okay.
but I have been writing it, and there's a new, you know, I've been working for about the last year, quite literally, at demoing the new Jesu album, which will come out probably around May next year, basically. So I've just been working. It's just nice to have this release, you know, the Heartache and Dethroned thing as a, you know, because I'm not aware that not that I can remember, there hasn't been a single Jesu release this year prior to this.
So it's good to get some of the old stuff out to a larger audience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, I was very proud of the Heartache release anyway, and felt it needed to be exposed as much as, you know, like previous Jesu records like Conqueror and Silver and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was really nice to get it out on Hide Your Head and for them to actually start getting it around again, basically. Back
to the Godflesh reunion, how did it actually come about?
It was, I mean, the catalyst for the reunion was pretty much the Hellfest, or previously known as Furyfest. Mm-hmm. The organisers and the main organiser behind that festival had been pursuing me for a number of years about a Godflesh reunion, which, to be honest, I never even discussed with the better half of Godflesh, Ben Green. Mm-hmm. Because I just felt, I mean, he'd left music when he left Godflesh. He didn't leave it personally, but left it in terms of working it in any serious context. I just felt, even if we were to consider it not enough time had passed for it to be valid to us. But, you know, the main promoter for Hellfest, he really did keep pursuing me, you know. It was almost about 3 years down the line of him consistently trying us that I gave in and just said I will mention it to Ben Green, you know, thinking that Ben would probably quite likely turn around and say, no, I really don't wish to go there again. Mm-hmm. For me, it was, I didn't even really take it that seriously until I mentioned it to Ben, because I just considered he wouldn't do it. But oddly enough, as soon as I mentioned it to Ben, he seemed quite immediate about that we should do it again, which I found a real pleasant surprise, you know. So really, once Ben agreed, I just got into mode, you know, quite literally just started to really take it quite seriously, like, you know, can we really do this? I think it was more we needed to get back in a room again together and stuff, which is, once we did, it was just immediate to us that the spark was still there, you know. And for me, I think a lot of people had considered, maybe myself included, that since I'd been focused upon Jesu for the last 6 to 8 years or whatever it is, you know, which is obviously a completely different context. Well, it's not a completely different context. The performance and delivery is a different context to Godflesh, quite obviously. You know, with Jesu, it's a somber thing. With Godflesh, it was about rage. It was questionable for myself whether I could go back to that mode, you know, but quite obvious that it was very easy for me, that this rage, anger, frustration, a lot of the emotions that were expressed through Godflesh had never gone away, you know. They'd probably just become a tad more articulate, but everything was still there. It'd never been removed. You know, for me, I can't do anything that's fake anyway, you know. If it involves faking emotion, which, you know, for me, music is all emotion, then it's a pointless activity, irrespective of finances or anything else that's involved with it. It immediately occurred to us upon playing together that you know, these emotions have never gone away, you know. It was a joy, a perverse joy, I guess, to actually go back to the old material and rage again at our tender ages, you know.
There's so many people that are so grateful that you're doing that again.
We're only just really, it sort of snowballs, you know. We've done very little, really, and it's all been in Europe so far.
You did just play recently in Birmingham?
Yeah, it's quite a legendary festival run by an organisation of women that we know really well, that we've known for years anyway. It's fantastic, Supersonic, because it really is. It's nice to see, it's essentially 4 to 5 women that run the whole thing, you know. It's nice to see, A, it isn't a male-dominated environment, B, it's people who just genuinely connect and love the music, And it was really nice. Yeah, Supersonic is Birmingham, you know, so that's Godflesh's roots, you know.
Yeah.
Right there, that was where Godflesh began, you know. So it was really our first UK show together as Ben and I, as Godflesh, as the original Godflesh. We worked out, we last played Birmingham was about 1991, I think.
Whoa.
So it was, you know, it was literally an eternity ago, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a real pleasure, and it was an absolutely fantastic show as well. I mean, oddly enough, it was quite possibly one of the best Godflesh shows we have ever played, you know. And that's including our entire career since 1988. So, I mean, you know, that proved to us how exciting this still is, you know, how thrilling this still is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the level of appreciation felt tenfold what it was when we even existed, you know.
Well, and I think it is. I think that is probably real.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite bizarre. I think it's, you know, obviously you leave this, and I think somehow the music has managed to stay with people, and it sort of becomes a legend, quote unquote, which for us is hard to see, obviously, but it's an honour to be took so seriously, you know, to some extent, and see that it is meaningful, you know. Mm-hmm. It does resonate with people worldwide. It was a pleasure, an honour, and, you know, absolutely thrilling again, and we are thoroughly excited to play more as Godflesh worldwide, but in a very select fashion. But we are excited to do it, you know.
Yeah, I see you're scheduled for Roadburn.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Which is playing Street Cleaner in its entirety, you know.
It may have to be there.
yeah. I think a few people are going to travel worldwide for that. You know, even when we played Hellfest, which unfortunately was a bit of a disaster due to a lot of ridiculous things, really. Supersonic was amazing, but what we've realised is people travelling worldwide, you know, to get to these Godflesh performances, which is just astonishing, you know. We're still quite in shock about the way this has been for Godflesh, you know.
Well, it seems, and I could be wrong, but was it sort of an incompletion for you when Godflesh ended?
Yeah, as a lot of people who followed the band are aware, you know, the end of the group was messy.
Yeah.
It was quite horrible, you know. In many, many, many respects, it was a real messy end. It would be a cliche to call all the unfinished business stuff, you know, I mean, that's sort of whatever, really. I think we just needed a lot of time off, a lot of years away from this to have some sort of sense of perspective about what we were and what we can quite possibly be now, you know. Not that we're suddenly looking at 3 years on the road doing a worldwide tour and knocking out 3 new albums in that time. Quite far from it, really. It's like I said, we're only interested in very select performances, and in terms of any new Godflesh material, again, that isn't something that we would find easy, you know.
Right.
You know, I'd be lying to say I didn't have riffs, etc., but it's something that would take, you know, we wouldn't want to take the easy route. It's very easy these days, it seems, for people to reform and knock out a very lazy record, you know.
Well, but that's never been what Godflesh ever did.
Exactly.
Even though your records were in the same vein, each one of them changed radically, and it's obvious that you pushed the envelope each time, regardless of how well received each Godflesh record was.
Yeah, exactly. As we never took the easy route, you know. I mean,